Hello, my name is Jackie and I live and I work in the beautiful Lake District. And amongst the things that I do, I practice and I teach yoga. I've also been studying recently to become a Thai yoga massage therapist. And for the last 20 years, I've been involved in the voluntary sector, mostly working for children's charities and helping to improve the lives of children and young people, or helping them to reach their potential, with a particular interest in their well-being and their mental health. And by their well-being, I mean being able to feel good and function well. And I'm also a mum. I'm also an artist, and during this very taxing time for us all, I've put together 6 fairly short, they're 30-minute videos to try and help support what I was talking about, the well-being of young people. And this is just a little introductory 15 minutes just to whet your appetite if you're curious. And you might notice I'm not always technically brilliant, so I'm going to share the screen. If things go horribly wrong, I apologize now. So what the sessions are about are that I've written it down so I don't get tongue-tied. So about understanding ourselves better, so what makes us tick, which is something that I'm really interested in. I've always been very curious as to how I operate, why do I behave like I behave, or why do I feel like I feel sometimes. And then how we can manage our thoughts, our feelings and our behaviors so we can lead happier and more peaceful lives. And then I'm going to include at the end of every session some tips and some tools, almost like a bit of a summary of what the session's been about, to help you manage that. And one of the things I want you to remember is this little phrase, this Serenity Prayer that I've used before in other work, and it's also a reminder to me, actually. So it says, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. There are things that are happening in the world that are beyond our control. We cannot change them. But also grant me the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." And this kind of sums it up for me, in that, if you've suffer from any anxiety or stress or depression, or all these kind of emotions that a lot of us are prone to, and during the last few months this has been heightened more than ever, then knowing the difference between the things that how we can manage our thoughts and feelings and behaviors, is by having that courage to change the things that are within us. We can change them and we can manage how we think about things, but what we can't always change is some of the external stuff that's going on around us. So having the wisdom is knowing the difference, because sometimes we tend to stress about things that are out of our control, and it's fruitless, really. So I'll stop sharing for a second and I'll come back to that in a minute. That's the techno bit, sharing a screen. So I want to also think about, just briefly, our attention and our awareness and where we put it, because our attention, our happiness, is directly affected by where we place our attention and our awareness. And so, for instance, at the moment, you might be tuning into what I'm saying, or you might have already drifted off and be thinking, how long is she going to be seeking for, or what's for dinner, or I forgot to email somebody, or I forgot to phone somebody. So it's kind of like, and all the time we're pushed and pulled into where we're focusing and where we get distracted from, and it can often lead us down rabbit holes that can then set off a whole whirlwind of thoughts, feelings, emotions and behavior. So So by your attention, it means your awareness on things right now. So as an example, I want you to take your hands like so, and we're going to clap our hands together and count to 3. So literally 1, 2, 3, and then just hold your hands there, and I want you to place your attention fully on the palm of your hands. Maybe you feel like a tingling sensation, or maybe pins and needles, or slightly fizzing. You know, we all use different words, we've all got different ways of describing what it is that we're feeling. And then maybe bring your attention just to the thumbs of your hands. Can you hone in that fine? Or just the ends of the little fingers. Can you feel the sensations there? And this is just a little reminder that this is just how we tune in, you know, our awareness. We fine tune our awareness, and that was where you were placing your attention. And when you focus in, it's very difficult to kind of think about things that are happening elsewhere, because we're fully engrossed. We're in the flow of being in the present moment and knowing where our attention is directed. And we're going to come more into that as the sessions go on. We've got sessions on mindfulness around some of that is about being mindful, about being present in the moment, around rituals and creating a sanctuary, around how your brain works, and so therefore how thoughts happen, negative thoughts, positive thoughts, around gratitude, around change and how to adapt to change. I'm looking for what else we've got going on, about sleep and the importance of sleep, about resiliency, and something about the 5 ways to well-being. So lots of things and lots of tips to help you. And so this is just an intro, like I said, and so I'm going to finish with this this Wheel of Life drawing. Let me get back to my sharing, and this one. So you'll have time to look at this. You can always pause the video and have a look at it. So I use this sometimes if I've got if I'm working with young people for a length of time, and maybe it's just a way for you to kind of gauge where you're at now, and then in 6 weeks time, or whenever you've watched you might watch one a week, or you might watch them all at once, I'm not sure, but you can do this, like, you know, with some distance in between. Do it now, and then after some distance do it again after you've watched all the sessions. And I've labeled it things that I think might relate to most of us, but you might want to draw your own Wheel of Life, and it might include other things in there. You might have one just for friends and just for relationships, for instance, and have it like that, or whatever. But this is just an example and starter. And what I'd like you to do is just to mark, and you see on the quadrant, the little piece of pie section that says family, and there's markers on there from 1 to 10. So I just want you to just sit for a moment and think about your family and where you're at the moment, as in how connected are you, how happy are you feeling about that. Maybe there's some things going on that aren't that great, and you might score yourself lower, or maybe everything's totally fine. So it's just about how you're feeling, and same with your health, your well-being. Kind of where would you place yourself if you were to scale it on a 1 to 10? Where would you put it? And then you can just either draw a line around where that mark would be, or you can color that whole section in. So if you're a 5, you would color up to the 5, and then what you'll get is kind of like a nice almost like a spiderweb effect of points on this circle, either colored in or just points. And maybe if there's some lower than others, it's a at a glance view of where you perhaps need to focus more of your attention or more of your awareness, and maybe put a little bit more effort into that. So if your well-being, you know, is a low score at the moment, if you don't feel particularly like you're feeling good and functioning well most of the time, then maybe that, you know, get on board and come and watch the sessions and see how you feel, and put some of that into practice, because of course it's not just about watching sessions, it's also about using some of the tips that I'll give you and putting them into practice. And equally, like fun and recreation, you might not feel like your life is full of that much fun at the moment, and so there's things you can do to address that. So we want to get a nice balance. This is all about getting a nice balanced life, which helps again with happiness if you're all in one quadrant and not in another. And I realize that these are really strange times, and so like for me, for instance, you know, on the work quadrant, as soon as we were locked down, that was me. All my work disappeared overnight, so that wasn't great, and had an impact on my well-being. So I know which quadrant I was working on for a while. So have a look at that, maybe draw your own, and then on the last session I'm going to refer back to it and come back to it, and it'd be good to see how you've got on with that. So I hope that's okay. That's just a short introduction, and I'll see you in session 1. Thanks for watching. Bye.